The Alaska Panhandle looks like a massive geographical mistake, and in fact it is. Someone drew this border based on mountains that literally do not exist, and today it's making life incredibly difficult for the people living there. How did the US end up owning this narrow strip of land that blocks Canada from the ocean? It all goes back to a bizarre agreement signed in 1825 between the Russian and British empires. Two superpowers sitting in Europe decided to establish a boundary through a wild, completely unexplored landscape. Making it follow the crest of the coastal mountains seemed to be a neat idea, with only one massive problem. Those mountains were a cartographic illusion. What they thought was a nice continuous ridge was actually a chaotic patchwork of peaks and fjords. Nope, they didn't check the terrain. You may wonder, why was it so important? When the US bought Alaska from Russia and gold was discovered in the region, this fictional line suddenly became highly contested. Who owns the coast simply rules. Back in 1903, an international tribunal stepped in and forced everyone involved to settle. The British judge sided with the US and the mistake was permanently locked in. Don't bring it up with Canadians nearby. It still angers them, as Canada was completely cut off from its ports, basically trapped behind a wall of land owned by the US. The issue is still valid today, and it's not just about old paper maps. Reality on the ground is harsh. The border they settled on is an absolute logistical nightmare. It completely fractured local ecosystems and split indigenous territories, like those of the Tlingit and Haida people, right in half. For the residents of these remote border towns, the daily impact is severe. Because of how awkwardly this line slices through the landscape, towns like Skagway, Alaska are only reachable by road if you drive through Canada. Meanwhile, Canadians living near the edge often have to cross international checkpoints just to reach the nearest hospital, buy basic groceries, or put their kids on a school bus. Imagine everyday life is dictated by Border Patrol. This jagged line is a stark reminder that borders are not just ink. When a boundary is based on total cartographic fiction, but enforced as hard fact, it's the local people who pay the price every single day.
Canada is massive, but almost everyone lives in the east or the west. And right in the middle, there is this huge stretch of land where hardly anyone calls home, Northern Ontario. So why does this place almost feel off-limits? Northern Ontario is part of, well, Ontario. It's a super busy province, home to major cities like Toronto and Ottawa. About 1/3 of all Canadians live there, but most of them are down in the southern part of the province, not up north. But that doesn't really add up when you think about it because the northern part is way, way bigger. We're talking about a region that is more than 300,000 square miles. Pretty much the same size as the whole country of Turkey. Northern Ontario takes up about 87% of the entire province. But, strangely, only about 6% of Ontario's population lives in this area. But before you start dreaming about moving there for some peace and quiet, hold on. There are 4 big reasons people choose not to, and honestly, you'll probably agree. Reason number 1, the land itself. Look up the region on Google Earth, and all you will see is a huge stretch of empty space. Nothing special at first glance, but zoom in, and that's when things start getting complicated. Northern Ontario is famous for its rugged, remote landscapes, full of endless forests and lakes. It's beautiful to look at or snap a photo of, but living there is a whole different story. The geography makes the area tough to get around and makes it hard to build things like transportation routes and railways. And since it's so difficult to put decent roads up there, the whole region stays pretty isolated. That takes us to reason number 2, remoteness. You might think that, being in the center of the country, it could serve as a great link between the eastern and western parts of Canada. But in reality, that's not how it works, and the region is very far from Canada's major cities. Take Greater Sudbury, the largest city in Northern Ontario, with around 160,000 people. The closest major city is Toronto, which is about 230 miles away. So yeah, that's roughly a 4-hour drive just to get there. If you're planning a holiday weekend in a big, dynamic city, a 4-hour drive sounds like a fun road trip. But if you need to go for a dental appointment or sort out paperwork, that distance suddenly feels endless, not to mention the cost. Unfortunately, that's how life is for many people up there. Residents of Northern Ontario don't have easy access to opportunities or services. With so few people scattered across such a huge area, the region doesn't have enough facilities, infrastructure, or easy access to essential services like healthcare and education. People there sometimes have to deal with poor or even non-existent infrastructure, like missing roads, airports, hospitals, and schools. Without those things, settling down is really tough. And in rural areas, it's even worse, because the lack of services can seriously hurt their quality of life. Psychologically speaking, that's not great either. People can end up feeling isolated and lonely, and the freezing weather doesn't help. Which brings us to reason number 3 why most people don't live in Northern Ontario: the harsh climate. If you're not a fan of cold weather, you should definitely leave this region off your travel bucket list. Winters up there can be long and brutal, with temperatures sometimes dropping as low as 40 degrees below 0 Fahrenheit. Have you ever tried shoveling snow when it's this cold? Yeah, it's not exactly fun. That kind of harsh weather doesn't just mess up your weekend plans or your daily jog. It also makes transportation a huge challenge. The result is that many residents end up isolated from essential services and job opportunities. And it's also really hard to build infrastructure, grow industries, or run businesses because of that harsh climate. Take farming, for example. Compared to Southern Ontario, the northern region has a shorter growing season and much colder weather. Although crops like oats, potatoes, and green beans can handle the cold, the climate usually limits the variety of things that can be grown. That's why most farms are concentrated in the southern part of the province, and in other parts of the country, like the prairies and Quebec. Anyway, that's just one example of how the climate makes it tough for people to build a strong foundation to support themselves. And that's exactly the 4th reason why Northern Ontario is so empty: the economy. It's not that there aren't any jobs available. In fact, there are plenty. In 2023, the northern part of Ontario had some of the highest job vacancy rates in the country. So unlike in many parts of the world, it's a place where they have tons of jobs available, but no people to fill them. One reason people don't take those jobs is that many of them are older. Just look at Elliott Lake, for example. 42% of the people living in the city are over 65 years old. That's the 3rd highest concentration of older adults anywhere in Canada. But it's not all that different in the rest of the region either. Estimates show that by 2036, people aged 65 and older will make up almost 30% of Northern Ontario's total population. And you see what happens when they hit 65, right? They've got their pensions, and going back to work just isn't on the radar. This problem only gets worse because young people just don't seem interested in living there. Every year, lots of students around 17 or 18 years old pack their bags and either drive across the province or fly across the country to study somewhere away from their northern homes. And many of them don't come back. But that's actually pretty strange considering the region does have a strong economy, especially in mining. Take the Red Lake area, for example. It's packed with gold. In fact, it's home to one of the richest gold deposits in the world and has already turned out over 30 million ounces of the metal. That's definitely helped Canada stay ranked among the top 5 gold-producing countries in the world. Then, there's this region, known as the Ring of Fire. It's centered around McFalds Lake in the Kenora district and covers about 1,900 square miles. It's rich in valuable minerals like chromite, cobalt, nickel, copper, and platinum. These days, Northern Ontario's mining industry is making a big comeback and attracting new investments. That's happening because the world is suddenly desperately looking for critical minerals. By that, I mean essential elements used in modern technologies like smartphones and renewable energy systems. Minerals like cobalt, nickel, and copper are especially important for making the batteries that power electric cars, for example. So, right now, it seems like the whole mining scene in the region is doing pretty well, but the industry has gone through plenty of ups and downs, with fluctuations and periods of decline. And that, combined with the possible lack of variety and jobs outside the mining industry, means people are more likely to leave the region in search of better opportunities. Interestingly though, mining companies are now struggling to find enough skilled workers in Northern Ontario. And that's probably because of all the reasons we've already talked about: an older population, harsh weather, tough geography, and a long distance from major urban centers. So, it's basically a cycle. And local authorities are trying to break out of it by improving infrastructure in the region, offering more incentives, and finding ways to keep young workers from leaving. Some of their strategies include offering cash rewards to people who refer healthcare workers for job openings or providing tax-free payments to help cover higher home energy costs. And there are plenty of other initiatives too. So yeah, with strategies like these, it's definitely possible to grow the population there. And who knows, maybe one day this region could be bustling with people. You can't even imagine how much benefit trees can bring. In the first half of the last century, America built a forest in the prairie states with the only scope to help countless people survive the Dust Bowl. That's what people called the devastating period of the 1930s, when the country faced extreme drought that destroyed farmers' fields. You've probably never heard of it, but America's forgotten green wall, made up of forests, saved an entire country from devastating problems. It all began in the 1930s. Severe droughts destroyed vast amounts of crops. Farmers were terrified. Powerful winds swept sand and dust across fertile fields, polluting and damaging the soil. The hurricanes also accelerated erosion and evaporated moisture, leaving the ground dry and barren. Cornfields and other grains produced almost nothing. A serious famine was approaching. That's why on July 21, 1934, President Franklin D. Roosevelt instructed a U.S. Forest Service to begin the Great Plains Tree Planting Project. Sounds great and promising, but how did America stop the Dust Bowl exactly? The idea was to plant as many trees as possible in long, wide, straight rows. These rows of trees were meant to act as a shield, protecting fields from strong winds, preventing erosion, and reducing drought. The tree belts also provided shade, cooling the soil and nearby water sources. They protected crops from wild animal pests and supplied people with an extremely valuable material: wood. In short, it was a massive climate restoration project. The Forest Service established headquarters in Lincoln, Nebraska, as well as in several towns and counties across Oklahoma. The official launch of the forest building effort took place on March 18, 1935, in the city of Mangum on the H.E. Curtis Farm, when the first shelter belt was planted. You might think that planting trees is simple, but you'd be wrong. It's not just a matter of tossing seeds into the ground, covering them with soil, and adding a little water. Let's take the pecan as an example. It's a fairly large tree with a wide, dense crown. If you choose to plant seeds directly into the soil, you'll need to spend a great deal of time and effort fighting weeds and pests. A seed requires more care and attention than a sapling because it's far more vulnerable. You don't just water the tree, you need to develop a proper irrigation plan. You don't skip meals during the day, so a seed also needs to receive water regularly. But don't overdo it. Too much water can destroy the tree. Many factors must be considered, such as soil temperature and fertility, so don't be surprised if nothing works out at first. A more reliable method is planting a sapling. You bring a young tree into a field, dig a hole of the appropriate size, moisten the root system, trim the roots and branches slightly, place it in the hole, and cover it with soil. As you fill the pit, the soil must be compacted. At the end, water the ground to firm it up. Cut off half of the tree's top to balance the root system. And by now, your head is probably spinning from all this information, but this is only the beginning of the work. As the tree grows, you need to paint the trunk white or wrap it with special protective covers to shield it from the sun and other damage. Don't forget about weeds and grass. They don't harm the tree directly, but they compete for the same moisture and nutrients the pecan tree needs. Then some insects and pests eat the tree and spread diseases. You have to choose special treatments to eliminate all these threats. So yes, planting a tree is not that simple, and we're talking about just one pecan tree. Meanwhile, America built a forest filled with mulberry trees, Osage orange, cottonwood, green ash, hackberry, red cedar, walnut, and many other types. Every day, farmers cared for all these trees. They watered them, fertilized the soil, removed weeds, fought pests, all under extreme heat. Of course, planting such a forest required more than just farmers' efforts, so the federal government actively supported them. If a farmer wanted to establish a shelter belt, they submitted an application. Special commissions evaluated the land designated for planting and tested the soil. If the land was fertile, the authorities approved the request. From that moment on, farmers began planting. Special government crews helped farmers build fences and fight rodents and weeds. Overall, it was a collective effort that produced impressive results in the form of well-structured forest rows. Each tree in a row was spaced about 10 feet apart. The width of the shelter belt ranged from 100 to 165 feet. Considering that the selected tree species had dense foliage, each belt formed a thick barrier that acted as a filter, cleaning the air of sand and stopping the wind. To improve the effectiveness of this filter, farmers planted tall trees in the central rows, shorter trees along the sides, and shrubs at the edges. The American Reforestation Project became so massive that by 1942, 220 million trees had been planted across 18,000 miles, stretching from North Dakota to Texas. Of course, not everything went perfectly. Some shelter belts were severely damaged and later removed by farmers. Many trees and shrubs suffered from intense droughts and locust infestations, and in some areas, farmers prepared the soil incorrectly. In 1936, tree survival rates were around 73%. In 1937, maintenance was fully transferred to farmers, and the rate soon dropped to about 61%. But why did damage increase once the government handed over the project? Farmers did their jobs well. Perhaps the problem was scale. It's extremely difficult to take care of such a vast forest, even with experienced people. It could happen that while farmers in Kansas were fighting locusts, powerful winds in Oklahoma were uprooting trees. But was the man-made forest in America worth it? Yes, the forest helped to a certain extent, but overall, it didn't save fields from the Dust Bowl as effectively as people hoped. But those trees became homes for countless birds and animals. Some internet users claimed that in the 1950s, people saw a lot of pheasants in this area. Even today, according to forums, these birds still live in the old forest belts. Nowadays, locals see many trees in the prairie states and probably assume they appeared naturally. Few people know that all of this is the result of the hard work of many farmers, and that the real reason why America built a forest was to save the country. It's important to remember that. Today, the country is not threatened by drought or massive crop destruction as far as we know. Famine is not expected either. But why is it still important to preserve these shelter belts? Yes, they are vital for nature and support many animal species, but beyond that, they have very practical benefits for people. They protect the topsoil from strong winds. In winter, they keep roads from being buried under snow. Think about how blizzards can completely cover highways with thick, white drifts. Rows of trees significantly reduce snow accumulation. Farmers also plant tree belts between their farms and nearby roads. This creates a natural shield that protects animals and plants from dust, exhaust fumes, and traffic noise. So you can create such a shelter belt too. No, seriously. Many people dream of having their own garden or a single small tree. But what about an entire forest? Imagine how rewarding it would be to walk through it many years after planting. The farmers who created this massive shelter belt were surely happy about all the work they had done. You may be curious what's happening to the Great Plains shelter belt today. Does it still exist? By 2010, the condition of many shelter belts had declined. Dense planting, aging trees, and the spread of other species competing for moisture and nutrients have all weakened these shelter belts. People have almost forgotten the American Reforestation Project. Fortunately, during those same years, the government allocated funding to maintain these forests in Kansas, North Dakota, South Dakota, and Nebraska. So there still may be a chance for them.
That's it for today. So hey, if you pacified your curiosity, then give the video a like and share it with your friends. Or if you want more, just click on these videos and stay on the bright side.